hand the conference over to Mr. Samir Goyal from ICICI Securities Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, good evening all. Thank you for joining this important call. We are very pleased and honored to host Mr. Pramod Agrawal, the Chairman and Managing Director of Coal India Limited, for an investor call post the Q4 FY21 results, and also to discuss his views on the recovery of coal demand in India. Along with him, we have Mr. Sanjeev Soni, Director Finance, Mr. S.N. Tiwari, Director Marketing, Mr. Vishwanathan, the Company Secretary, and other head of departments as well. On behalf of ICICI Securities, I thank you all for joining this call. Over to you, sir, for initial remarks, and then we can have a Q&A. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, friends. It's really a pleasure to interact with you after declaring the fourth year 2021 results. This was a tough year. Tough because we are operating in an open area which gets infected by this disease very easily, and this reduced the demand in the market. This affected our manpower very severely, and to move about was difficult, but then we could continue our production. We could continue the dispatches. The dispatches were not much less than the last year, nor was the production. Production was less than 1%, and dispatches was by slightly more than 1%. Actually, in month of March, suddenly the demand reduced, and whatever we was expecting that the dispatches will improve in January, February, March, it did not occur. All the power plants were running very high in the stock, so they started reducing the stock. So that affected our dispatches. However, with New Year, new hopes have risen. In April, May, June, the dispatches have been very good. Our production also has been quite good. All these details have been posted in our website. So I would rather stop here and take the questions rather than getting into the details. If you need some details, perhaps I can address that during my in any of the answers. So Samir, can we take the questions?
Thank you
Sure.
very much.
Sure, Malika. We can open for the Q&A.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Amit Dixit from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my questions and congratulations for a very good set of numbers. I have two questions. The first one is on your production or sales target for this year. If you can provide it subsidiary-wise, that would be great.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Dixit. So there's a disturbance coming from your line. Request you to mute your line while the management answers your question.
Okay, sure.
For 2021-22, we have kept a very ambitious target, assuming that there will be quite a good growth in this economy, and so the demand for coal will rise tremendously. At the time we were fixing the target, we never thought that in April, May, and June there will be Corona 2 or maybe Corona 3 will hit this country later part of the year. So we have discounted that, and we had assumed that the power demand will be more than demand of coal for power itself will be more than 620. So keeping some and thinking that some of the more import substitution would take place, we kept the target for dispatch at 740 and 710. 740 and production target at 670. So this was our this. And if you see subsidiary wise, then the yearly target Production was ECL 52 million ton, BCCL 32, CCL 74, MCL 119, WCL 60, SECL 172, and MCL 163. And the dispatch target for the year was ECL 56, BCCL 32, CCL 80, MCL 126, WCL 67, SECL 196, and MCL 182. I would say these are very ambitious targets, and keeping in the mind that the last 3 months have not, we have suffered a lot. So perhaps this will be a difficult target. We will have to revise these targets as the months go by.
No problem. So the second question is on receivable. While receivable has declined compared to maybe Jan, February levels, still it remains pretty high. So what will be the target for FY22? What kind of receivable can we expect by end of March 22?
Target for, I mentioned the target for dispatch will be 740. Our receivables have reduced to 17,000. So I am targeting that if everything goes well, then it will come below 12 to 13,000 crores rupees.
Okay, sir. That's great. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pinakin Parekh from JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. So my first question is on the wage cost for this quarter, and what is the outlook for the year? Because there is also talk about the discussions on the wage agreement starting sometime this year. So how should we look at the wage cost for the year FY22 on an absolute basis?
In the last quarter, the wage cost must have reduced by about 2%. I don't remember about the quarter as such. But for the whole year, the wage cost has reduced by 2% or 2.3 or 2.5% in that range. This year, there will be wage negotiation, but then again, I am thinking we have calculated that the reduction in manpower will again be in the range of 13,000 to 14,000. And if we keep that in mind, then had there been no wage negotiation, there would have been a reduction of about 3% in the wage cost. But since there will be negotiation and it will be difficult for me to say what will be the growth in the wages, but even if it is 5 to 7%, because keeping in mind that in last the increase was 15% and that was only 5 years, and in this 5 years, inflation has remained almost constant and the growth in the country per se has not been very high. So I think that there will be a very high rise in the manpower cost, very high increase in the wage cost, but it will be difficult for me, as I mentioned earlier also, to mention anything right now. But at the end of the year, even if the wage that increase is taken in account, maybe at the most 2 to 3% rise in wage cost to take.
So I was just trying to understand that because in the quarter the wage cost was up around 14% on a Q-on-Q basis. So was it just related to any actuarial assumptions?
There is one actual assumption in gratuity.
Sir, this is the conference operator. Mr. Parekh, there's a disturbance coming from your line. Request you to mute your phone now.
Okay.
There has been an increase in gratuity by 1,000 crore rupees suddenly. I am unable to understand why this actuarial thing has come, but because of that only wage cost has increased or decreased. Otherwise, the decrease in the first was in the range of 3%. But if there is an increase of 14%, that I can't comment right now. I will have to check that.
Sure. So my second question relates to just slightly medium term. Diesel prices have been surging, which means that there is cost pressure for the company. There will be higher wage costs. Even if you assume a 5 to 7% increase, that's roughly 2,500 crores more. E-auction coal prices are still not breaking out. The company has an aggressive capex program. Receivables are not being paid fully to the extent we expected it to. In that context, sir, is the company looking at raising coal prices, especially for the power sector, because there is a relentless cost surge on one side, and there is also an issue of receivables not being paid even as the company is doing capex. So how can the company look to increase profitability from here?
See, this is the right time to increase the cost, and we are thinking very seriously about it. Unfortunately, for the last 3 months, when we were discussing this, and this COVID thing was there, so we are discussing it very seriously, and perhaps we should take some decisions soon. But then to say that when we will take this will be is difficult.
Understood. And so lastly, what is the capex outlook for FY22? And at this point of time, if the receivables is not paid down, would it be fair to assume that the company would effectively look to borrow to basically fund the capex and maintain the dividend payouts?
I don't think that situation will arise because receivables are constantly decreasing. If you compare it with December last, means December 20, at that time our net receivables was in the range of 22,000 rupees. Now it has come down to 17,000. If everything goes well, then perhaps it will further reduce by 4,000-5,000 rupees. In April, we really tried very hard to reduce the receivables by controlling and regulating the supplies. Even now, we are trying to regulate the supplies to certain big debt creditors. So that is the issue. So I think we will be able to generate adequate profit and adequate cash to meet our demands. That I'm quite sure that there will not be any problem.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shikha Raman from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Hi, please purchase.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, what is split of coal sales in FY21 sector-wise, power specifically, both from linkage sales and e-auction sales?
I don't remember the figures exactly, but the power consumption, sales to power sector is in the range of 75 to 80%, maybe roughly 75%. And to e-auctions, the complete things that have been evacuated is in the range of 11%. And rest of the thing has gone to different small sectors. But that data, if you want, we can send you.
Okay.
Just a minute. E-auction, E-auction was lifting on account of e-auction, although we did auction of 124 million ton, as you know, but about 64 or 65 million tons were lifted. Rest of the thing will get lifted in this year. So about out of 576, about 11 to 12% was on e-auction. We are giving them 1.399. So am I clear to that extent?
Can you just repeat this one? Not completely.
From e-auction account, the total lifting was 65 million tons, 65 or 66 million tons. So it will be on the total booking was 124 million tons, but rest of the thing will get lifted this year, along with whatever is booked this year, because there is the time given to them to lift the coal. So that comes to about 11 to 12% of the total lifting, and about 75 to 80% went to powerhouses. That two major figures I can give. Rest of the thing was to small consumers, cement or iron or something else.
Okay. So what is the e-auction volumes expected in FY22?
We are targeting for something like 130 to 140 million ton. Last year we did 124 million ton. The growth in April and May and June has been quite good. But then that does not indicate the trend in the whole year, because our April, May, June last year were very bad. So then we are targeting for something more than 35 million tons.
135. Okay. So what is the average premiums of e-auction sales at present, and what is the likely thing for the entire FY22?
What will be likely thing, it will be very difficult, but then at present we are getting 16 to 17% premium, and if our supplies remain good, then the premium will be about 20 to 25%, but it will be very difficult for me to predict anything.
Okay. It depends on supply.
It depends. If my supply increases, the premium reduces. And how the
Okay.
demand pans out in the coming months, one doesn't know. So I was expecting that in June there will be huge demand, but unfortunately because of the rain, not unfortunately, but because of rain and because of COVID lockdowns, etc., the demand was not as high as I was expecting.
Okay. So, on the wage hike part that you told earlier, what is when is the wage hike due and expected?
See, the wage review was from 1st of July, and we have created a committee for the wage revision, etc., wage revision, but it will take a while before the negotiation gets finalized.
Okay. And just what was the total overburden removal in tons for FY21, and how did it compare with FY20, and what is its expected in FY22?
The total OB removal, we count it in terms of million cubic meter. So the growth was 16.7. The last year it was about 1300. 1347 in FY20. 1347 in 2021, and it was 1154 in FY20.
Come again, sorry.
Okay, 1347 million cubic meter in FY21 and 1150 in FY20. So the growth has been about 17%.
Okay. And for going forward, FY22, what is the difference?
If the target is taken into account, then this will be about 1538 million cubic meter. But if the target is adjusted, it will go down.
Okay. So when will the price of linkage coal be increased again, and by how much do you expect?
It's a very difficult question. I can't say on this how much it will be increased and when it will be actually done and how much it will be increased. That is not something I can tell you right now.
Okay. And what is the split of manpower percentage between underground mines and open cast?
Underground is about 43% and over open cast is about 57%.
Okay. And what proportion of...
Okay, sure. Join the queue for follow-up.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please limit your questions to 2 per participant. Should you have a follow-up question, would request you to rejoin the queue. The next question is from the line of Vishal Chanda from DM Capital. Please go ahead. Mr. Vishal Chanda, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead with your question.
How we have a growth of 37% for last year. This power.
The line for the current participant is disconnected, so we move on to the next question. The next question is from the line of Rahul Jain from Systematics. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Good evening. Thanks for taking my question. So, see, first of all, I want to check on the overburden provision. We have increased it to almost 63,000 crores, and we have hardly any cash to support that. So, is there any proposal to reverse that, and how much tax liability do we accrue if we do that?
I couldn't get your question. Please repeat because.
Mr. Jain, there is a disturbance coming from your line, sir. Request you to mute your phone after your question.
Please repeat your.
No, my question is that we have this OBR provision of 62,000 crores, and we have hardly any cash to support that provision. So, do we anticipate, sort of a reversal of that, and what is the tax liability will be accrued if we do that? And secondly, sir, the MMDR Act amendment, what is the increase in cost do we see on account of premium? For example, for iron ore, the premium is 150% of royalty. Is there a similar proposal on coal? Yeah, just want these 2 questions. Thanks.
Okay, I will take the second question first because we have not acquired the land or lease under MMDR Act. We acquire the land under CBA, and so whatever land we get gets vested in Coal India, and because of that there is no lease. and the royalties linked to the price of the coal, that is about 14%, and there is no talk or any issue on increasing this royalty or anything. So that is something different from how we deal with the iron ore. Now coming to your first question, there is about 48,000 the provision for overburden. I hope that over the years, maybe next, not right now, but when the production, our mines will start getting depleted, then only this issue will come. We already have more than 25,000 in the kitty, which is equivalent to cash. And over the years, this will again build up. So I don't think there will be much of problem on this.
Right. And sir, also on our capex budget, so what sort of number we have planned for this year, and how much money are we going to allocate for our diversification projects which we have envisaged, whatever the smelter and solar chips and things like that?
The solar chip, etc., I don't envisage any expenditure this year on our total expenditure on those all projects will be very less because we are looking for PPA partners. We will not be owning these companies completely. So only expenditure we will incur will be in constructing this solar power stations, of which we have got 100 megawatts allocated in Rajasthan and Gujarat. So in that, on solar power, etc., maybe there will be capital expenditure if we take 70-30 ratio of that equity. So even if we get another 100 megawatts somewhere, 200 or 300 megawatts, we get execute this year. So that will be something in the range of 1,500 crores, so about 500 crores. Mostly my expenditure of 1,700 crores will be in 3-4 things. One is acquiring land. Secondly, R&R thing. Third thing is first mile connectivity projects, CHPs and bunkers, etc., which we have taken so that we can evacuate coal easily. And the fourth thing will be railway lines and sidings, etc. So mainly our expenditure will be related to coal projects only, where we are planning to create capacity to evacuate more coal in an environmental friendly manner.
So will we exceed last year's number of 10,500 crores or something in that range?
No, I think this last year our expenditure was 13,000 crores. This year we are planning to, we are targeted for 17,000 crores. Because all these FMC first mile connectivity projects that we had planned last year, 35 projects, all were tendered out. 2 they could not sign the agreement because they could not submit their BG, so we had to do the retender. And all these projects, if COVID situation do not aggravate, then they will be in full swing. So there will be expenditure in these projects.
Okay, that was very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amit Kumar from State Bank of India. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, Agarwal sir.
Good evening.
Yeah. Sir, can you please tell us what will be the working capital requirement for FY22, if possible subsidiary-wise? We want to ascertain finance cost for FY22.
See, we have got loan of about 1,000 or 1,500 crores in BCCL. Most of the subsidiaries have got adequate cash to meet all the requirements. So I don't think and BCCL also is now in repaying mode. Another 4-5 months, perhaps, if everything goes well, then they will repay the loan. So I don't think there is any requirement of working capital or to raise loan on this account.
Okay. In FY22, there will be no working capital requirement, incremental working capital requirement.
Not incremental, there will be hardly any loan. We will not be taking any loan on this account.
Oh, okay. One more question, sir. Actually, 2 more questions. Sir, you have informed that 75% of coal supply is towards power plants. Does ESG concern of power plants may impact coal demand in ensuing years? Any assessment on it?
I won't say that we have done any much of assessment. We have got some studies done, but the fact remains that as power will remain a dominant energy supplier. Coal will remain as a dominant energy supplier in coming decade or so. Maybe the role of the coal in terms of percentage will reduce, but in overall terms, means in water terms, energy terms, it will increase. So I don't foresee much of problem in this. But then, as is happening all over the world, that renewables are snatching some space from conventional power, that will happen in the country as well.
Okay, sir. One more question, sir. Sir, we have seen of late that private players are being encouraged in coal mining to improve output. Can it impact CIL in a negative fashion or something?
The thing is, whatever mines have been auctioned till now for private sector for this commercial mining,
yes, sir.
That at the most they can produce 50 million tons. And secondly, those mines have got adverse stripping ratio, etc. Thirdly, they will take another 3 to 4 years to start production. By that time, Coal India is likely to become more sleek and more efficient. So I don't think it is going to affect us much. It cannot, rather it will affect us positively in a positive manner because of the two things. First thing, we will try to become much more efficient because there will be some element of competition in the market. And second thing, perhaps the price will become more free and Coal India will get some advantage out of that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Agarwal.
Thank you.
Yeah, please continue.
Yes, sir.
Sameer? Hello?
Yes, sir. We are continuing.
The next question is from the line of Rakesh Vyas from HDFC Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Good afternoon to everyone. So, a few questions from my side. First, can you highlight on the underground mine closure as to how much was done? What is the target for 22 and beyond? And if you can also highlight any incremental savings from those that you can accrue.
Rakesh, last year we had said that we have identified 23 mines and which were to be closed in this year. We have already closed down 13 mines, 14 are in pipeline, 4 are more in pipeline in the sense out of that 23, 4 are in pipeline. They will get closed because the closing we cannot do it suddenly. It takes a while because the technical thing has to be done. The rest of the 5 or 6 mines that are left, they have planned to increase the production substantially. Like 3 or 4 mines in ECL, they are trying to merge those 4 mines into 2 mines and increase the production from current level of less than 100 tons per day to something like 2,000 tons per day. And I have given them time till December. If they increase the production, that's okay. Otherwise, they will start closing down because they are deploying some modern method to increase the production. And those mines in ECL are mines, if we increase the production, then perhaps. So I had given them option either you close down or increase the productivity of the mine. So they are working on that. Another mine is Rani Atari. In SCCL, they are deploying continuous miner, and if once the continuous miner, and they have awarded the tender, if the continuous miners through the private operator becomes functional, then perhaps we can get more than 1,500, in the range of 12 to 1,500 metric ton of the coal, so that will also become profitable. So we have closed down those 13 plus 4 mines, 17 mines have been closed, 13 have been closed and 4. To say how much saving has been done, we are working the numbers, exact figures, but then what our gut feeling means, the calculation, so without getting into details, is about 300 to 400 crore rupees will be saved out of those 13 mines, out of 13 mines. But then their exact figure will come in a while.
And sir, any target that you can highlight for next 1 or 2 years?
Well, to give target for 2, 3, more than 1 year will be difficult. But this year again we are working on that. Right now we have not pinpointed the mines, but we have identified 17 mines which may be closed. But I will not say that I have consulted my CMDs, etc. Because some consultations and some discussion has to take place. So we have not finalized. Maybe by next meeting we will finalize that and we will give you the number.
Great, sir. Sir, second question is on the MDO economics. So essentially, you are targeting large mines to be given through MDO. So if you can just also highlight what is the kind of differential in cost that could come up because of this transformative agenda that you have taken compared to if you were to do on your own?
See, MDOs, we have awarded two mines. One is Kotre Basantpur and another is Siarmal. Kotre Basantpur is perhaps 10 million ton or 5 million ton. Siarmal is 40 million ton mine. So the cost that we are getting there is about 290 rupees. And rehabilitation cost will be on us. So the first thing will be the production that will be ensured in a very efficient manner, because if we deploy the labor ourselves, then it becomes very costly. Our labor is very costly. If we work through the outsource model in which contractors deploy the laborers and machines, they tend to deploy very small machineries and which do not give good production, and those are not efficient. So when the MDO is given for a longer term, we expect that they will deploy big machineries which will be more efficient. It will be less harmful to the environment. And secondly, there will be continuous supply, and they will work in much more efficient way. So the cost will reduce substantially to us as well. Secondly, in some areas we are looking at MDO model in which perhaps we are targeting that we will not providing the service to the land outstream. Instead of that, we will give them upfront compensation. So that should reduce the cost. The maximum advantage would be by increasing the production in all these big mines, we will be able to close down the small mines which have become highly inefficient, and that will save us a lot of money. And to calculate what is that will be difficult for me to right now to say.
Sure. Sir, another question is related to this proposal of merging all kind of e-auctions into a single e-auction window. So any thoughts around that? Where do we think this would actually pan out?
When it will, because I need the permission of the government, because this model was decided by the cabinet. We have sent the proposal that all the e-auctions should be merged and there should be only one e-auction mechanism. This helps us in getting two things. First thing is it improves the transparency. Today, it is at the discretion of the officers that this mine is allotted for a particular purpose, that second mine is allotted for a different purpose, and they reduce the quantity for one purpose, they reduce the quantity for another purpose. All this leads to a lot of opaque type of function. So that opacity will completely go and transparency will come. And then when there is some lack of transparency, so there are accusations, etc. So that will also be over. So that is from administrative or governance point of view, that is one of the most important things. Secondly, if a consolidated amount quantity is offered for every purpose by mixing all the modes, then we think that the premium will be much higher than what we are getting. So that will help us. But if you say how much premium will increase, it is very difficult to predict right now. But it will definitely improve the efficiency of auction process, and it will improve the transparency of the auction process.
Got it, sir. One last very quick point. Although your targets initially seems very, very ambitious, but the current run rate does suggest close to 660 million ton of offtake run rate. So is it something that is easily achievable in your view, or you think that more than 10-12% growth is difficult in current environment?
See, if you talk about dispatch, perhaps 660 seems quite reasonable this year, or maybe it's more than 660. But it will depend how the situation in the country is there, because nobody knows when the third wave will hit. If it does not hit, then till March we will be 660. But if it hits in December or something, then everything goes topsy-turvy. Because last year also I was thinking there will be substantial increase, and we planned for that. We tried everything, but everything was brought to zero because of this thing. So if everything goes well, then 660 seems quite achievable. Till now, in January, April, May, June, we have got advantage of about dispatch increase of about 36 million ton. And if we continue with this even if we take into account that the same growth will not be there in the coming months, but if we assume that at least a slight increase in the coming 2-3 months will be there, so we'll start the third quarter with advantage of about 45-50 million ton. So achieving a 60 to 70 million growth should not be difficult. But then.
Got it, sir. Got it. Thank you so much. I'll get back in queue, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vineet Mallu from Birla Sun Life Insurance. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. It's Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund. Good evening, sir. Sir, just wanted to know, one, we made an investment of roughly 3,500 crores. So what is this regarding? That is question number one.
35 crore in what?
3,500 crores appears as an investment under current assets.
That is, because in mutual fund, they have invested in some debt mutual fund. This time, one of the subsidiaries an investor. So that is debt mutual fund. Nothing means not in anything else.
Okay. Sir, I thought you mentioned your capex was 13,000 crores this year. What I can see in cash flow is only 10,800 crores. So I thought you were also counting this investment.
Our total, this is about 13,000 crores. We have invested something in HURL and TSL. And whatever loan they take, that do not get reflected in our books. But since that has been raised because of that, so we count that in investment for our own purpose. So that is there. And this rail lines debt that gets reflected in our. So that may be because of that. Some tax adjustments because 700 to 800 crore rupees is because of GST adjustment also that we have tried to capitalize this year.
Okay, understood. And sir, when you say you will invest 17,000 crores in current financial year, out of that, how much again will be by those two entities and how much would be under us, which will get reflected here?
Those entities, I think it will be about 3,000 crore rupees by those two entities. 3 to 4,000 crore. That depends on how the progress on those projects go. But then HURL is in final stage, so there will be about it will be about 3 to 4,000 crore rupees.
Okay, understood. Sir, just wanted to understand, so with this overall capex of 17,000 crores, right, and I understand that we will get some substantial chunk of receivables back this year, hopefully. So we should have, sufficient cash flows for capex as well as dividend for this year. I'm just concerned this capex rate is unsustainable, without cutting dividends going forward, unless we either cut dividends or we, resort to borrowing. So what is your thought on, beyond current financial year? I mean, and how do you see this capex trajectory evolving? I don't want exact numbers, but a ballpark directional movement should help us.
See, the type of growth in capex that has happened in last year or that is likely to happen this year, this cannot be sustained. And there will not be any requirement either. What we are investing, what we have done in last year or this year is basically replacing all the old machineries which have not been replaced for last 30-35 years. And some of the drag lines of NCL was brought 32 years back. There was no tender. We have done that tender this year. We had not inducted the shovels and the dumpers which we have finalized this year. So they will come this year and next year. And then after this evacuation projects were not taken up seriously that we have done this year, so that in coming years the evacuation can happen. And now it will depend what is the demand that we face this year and what is the likely demand next year. If the demand increases, our capex may increase. If the demand does not increase, then acquiring the land, acquiring the increasing the machineries or increasing investment on rail lines, etc., will get reduced. So, the second thing that we have done is we have gone for MDO mode. So that type of capex which we do for acquiring machines, etc., or for establishing FMC, now those things will be done by MDO operator, and it will be on that account. So if we are successfully do the tendering of 8 to 9 more mines this year, large mines, then the demand for capex will also get reduced in coming years. So there are two things. First thing is the capex will completely depend on what is the demand that we get in the market, and second, how successful we are in getting the MDO operators on board.
So just to clarify, for incremental production, the capex that we will require beyond current financial year will be on land and probably evacuation infrastructure. Machinery, etc., will be taken care through MDO route. This is our intention as of now. Is that a fair understanding?
Yeah, that's right. And then acquiring the land will also depend what is the demand. If suppose the demand does not increase that much, then we will not acquire the land.
Sure, right. Yeah. Thank you so much for my question. These are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sonal Kohli from Bowhead Investment Advisors. Please go ahead.
Thank you for this opportunity. I have 3 quick questions. Firstly, as far as the capex, beyond 2022 or 2023, in a normalized environment, would it be fair to say it would be less than 10,000 crores? Some broad numbers, if you could give, from a 2-3 year perspective, for the coal part of the business. And secondly, on the aluminum part of the business, is there a capex number you have in mind?
FY23, it is likely to increase slightly because all the orders that we have placed will get fructify in FY22-23 also. And most of our this FMC projects and the related sidings and railway lines, etc., will get completed. So FY23 till FY23, I think there will be some increase in capex. Maybe next year we get a target of 17,000-18,000 crore rupees, and thereafter 20,000 crore. But thereafter, perhaps it will start reducing. But again, if the demand is there and we are able to go for something like 800 or 900, then the capex will have to be increased.
So, sir, if I heard you correctly, even in something like 2024, you were saying the capex could be 15,000-20,000 crores, or did you mean a much lower number? Some sense would, on that number beyond 22 and 23.
FY23, I said it will be in the same range, but after FY23, FY24, it will be very difficult for me to project because it will depend on the demand. If the demand is good, then perhaps this can increase. If the demand is not there, then if the demand continues in the range of 650, 700, then there will not be much of capex.
So when you say not much, would you have any number in mind in that kind of scenario? Would it be like 5,000 crores or it should be 10,000 crores?
Not 5,000 crores. It will be in the range of 17,000 crores. Because land will have to be continuously.
Hello?
Land will have to be continuously acquired, and some capex will be required for everything because machinery, etc., have to be continuously replaced. So it will be in the range of 15 to 17,000. Mine development charges, etc., mine development funds, etc., are required.
And sir, what would be a dividend policy going forward? We gave 15 rupees dividend this year. Would that be maintained or increased going forward? And how will you fund it? With this kind of capex, would you be able to make enough, cash flows?
The thing is, the type of money we make if our production increases slightly is very high. Had the dispatch been in range of 600 million tons, then my profitability would have increased by another 3,000 or 4,000 crores and 3,000 crore rupees. So that type of money is made. So what I am assuming that every year we will be increasing our dispatch by 40 to 50 million ton. If we increase our dispatch by 42 million ton, this will generate enough resources for both dividend as well as capex.
So, sir, you're saying even in a normal year, beyond once your base is normal, to a normal industrial activity, even beyond that for next 2 years, you expect, your demand to grow by 40 to 50 per ton beyond this, exceptional period. Then also you expect that kind of increase?
I expect that if the normal year is there, this means sudden increase will be about 70 to 80 million ton, and thereafter in first normal year, and thereafter it will definitely increase by 40 to 50 million ton every year. And if that type of dispatch is there, there will be adequate resources for everything, both for this investment and this dividend.
And sir, this high growth rate, would it be for next?
Sir, I would request you to rejoin the queue for follow-up questions, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nitish Mangal from Jefferies. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, sir. Thank you for taking my question. First question, can you share what's the latest on contingent liabilities related to mining and taxes, please?
Please repeat your question. I couldn't get you.
Sir, could you share details on what is the latest on the contingent liabilities related to, there were some mining related and tax related issues?
There are three types of mainly contingent liability. One is land related. One is land related, that is specific to Jharkhand state, and that too again mainly to CCL area. We have acquired land, and we have acquired land from the as per the records of the Jharkhand state government, and we have paid their compensation to the landowners. But in certain, there is some discrepancy in Jharkhand land record where it is shown as government land also. So those also have raised some claims. Secondly, there is a lot of land in CCL area which we have declared as Coal India's land. But we have not taken possession to that land. For that also they are asking for money. So we are saying that as soon as we get the possession, we will give that payment should be linked to possession. So I don't think there is any problem in regard to this, because this has been discussed many times last year, and a lot of solution has to some extent the solution has been reached. So this will not create a problem. Second thing is related to the violation of environmental violations, because of which in Jharkhand and in Chhattisgarh some penalty or thing has been imposed by the state governments in the range of 40,000 crore rupees. And that too again I don't foresee any problem in because that stay has been granted, and that case is not related to coal. That case was under which this has been done was related to iron ore. And as I was mentioning, that the way we acquire the land and the way rest of the mining people acquire the land is completely different. So this has been challenged, and that there is a stay. So I don't foresee any problem on that account again. In income tax, there is some liabilities have been created which we have disputed in various courts, but against that some amount has been some money has been deposited, about 12,000 crore, 14,000 crore rupees have been deposited in the to income tax department, and in many of these cases we have won at the appeal at the first level and second level. So at different levels those cases are pending. I am even if most of the cases go against us, then also that deposit that we have made, I don't say that most of the cases will go against us, because in certain cases they have disallowed the expenditure on overburden removal completely. Not just overburden adjustment, but overburden removal completely. That expenditure has been completely disallowed. So nobody can excavate coal unless the overburden is removed. So in most of those cases we have won, and those cases are pending in High Court. So we are likely to win. Then there is a disparity in the decision given in suppose NCL and SECL. So all these things are being challenged. So even if we lose all these cases, then it will affect the profitability. but then it will not affect the cash flow because those 14,000 crore will be adequate to meet all the liabilities. So that liability part is taken care of. Land we are solving. Jharkhand, most of the problems have been solved. And in case of those violation cases or EC cases, again, I'm quite sure that there should not be any liability. But then till the time these things are completely off, we cannot delete this contingent liability.
Okay, thank you very much for that elaborate answer. The second question, and just going back to the capex intensity. So if we see let's say not 1 year, 2 year, but let's say if we see the incremental volumes over, let's say 2, 3 years, 4 years period, the amount of capex that is going in, and in addition to that, the contractual expenses, so both seem to have risen together very sharply. Why are we seeing such a sharp increase in both the capex intensity and the contractual expenses? In fact, both at the same time. So what's fundamentally changing in the nature of coal production that is resulting in such high intensity of these spends?
Coming to capex, I explained to you that we are trying to replace machineries which are old, and we are trying to invest in places where the capex is. If you see traditionally, last year the capex was 6,000 crore. Before that it was 8,000 crore, and 3 to 4 years back it was 10,000, 12,000 crore rupees. So capex has been continuously reducing. So I would say that there has been underinvestment. So capex has to increase right now because we have to improve our evacuation mechanism. We have to improve our dispatch mechanism. We have to acquire more land. Otherwise, this company cannot grow, nor can we meet the demand of the nation. The second thing that you asked about the contractual expenditure. Contractual expenditure has increased by about 2,000 to 3,000 crore rupees, and that is mainly on account of overburden removal. If you see, last year we have removed more than 17% more overburden, and overall excavation, if you see, we have grown by about 13%. So that type of increase means about 200 cubic meter increase will definitely increase the requirement of contractual requirement. So that I don't see the conditions of mines had started deteriorating. Most of the mines had become vertical. In order to ensure the security and the continuous operation, we have to bring those mines to proper geometry. And if you see again, the removal, this overburden removal of 4-5 years, it has remained in the range of 1100 cubic meters, whereas our production has increased from 520, 530 to 600 million ton. So all these things had become unsustainable. Now we have stabilized these things. We have come to the level at which the overburden is slightly more than what it is required to be done. We are preparing our mines for the future, and at the same time we have invested in the capex so that all the old machinery, etc., can be replaced, and we can continue our mining operation. So I don't put contractual expenditure has increased on account of increased excavation, and this capex has increased because we want more efficient evacuation process.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Subhadip Mitra from JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Sir, just want to get a sense. Quantum of coal. Hello, am I audible?
No, sir, your voice is breaking, sir.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes, sir. You may go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, my question pertains to the non-power linkage auctions. If it is possible to please share what is the quantum of coal that got dispatched through the linkage auctions and the average realization.
It is getting lapsed.
Hey, what's the question? Can you repeat it, because I couldn't get the question, although it was clear, voice was clear. Quantum of the coal that has been supplied on linkage?
Linkage auctions, the non-power linkage auctions that have happened. I think previous linkages which are now getting converted into linkage auctions.
Linkage auction we will be doing in coming months, and it will be almost equivalent to whatever the quantity that is lapsing. And if the exact quantity do you have? It will be 12. I can't say right now, but I will send you this figure. But we will ensure that whatever is linkage quantity was earlier there and what has lapsed over the last 1 or 2 years, we will put that much quantity.
If it would be possible for you to share those numbers for FY 21 and 22, even if it is offline, I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashish Kejriwal from Centrum Broking. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, 3 questions. One, on this overburden removal only. Last year, we exposed our minerals in order to get more in future. And what we have seen in the last quarter, that overburden removal ratio, that is stripping ratio, has come down to around 1.9. Overall average was around 2.3. So my question is, going forward, that is in FY22, do we see something like 2 or 2.3 times in stripping ratio?
See, in the last quarter, unfortunately, there was shortage of explosives all over the country, in all my subsidiaries, especially in NCL and WCL. In WCL, it was the shortage of explosive was especially very acute. And if you see the removal of the OBR, then WCL and NCL contribute the maximum removal because the stripping ratio is high. I think that in the coming year we should be in the range of 2.3, 2.25 to 2.3 only. 1.9 is not something which is sustainable.
Okay. So secondly, when we are investing around 14,000 crore in the first mile connectivities, and we have already having 3 projects with 30 million ton which has been commissioned. So is it possible to share what kind of savings on a per ton basis we are getting out of it, so that we can have at least, what kind of payback period for this 14,000 crore?
We are investing about 3 to 4,000 crore rupees on transportation of the coal from phase 2 sidings or phase 2 loading point. So at least that much of money will get saved. Not at that much, but most of that money will get saved once these projects are completed. But
so is it possible to share what kind of on a per ton basis we are saving, or we can save once all these things get commissioned?
Per ton basis, about 50 to 60 rupees per ton, but that is completely based on just calculation. I can send you those. I think it should be in the range of 40 to 50 rupees per ton.
Okay. Otherwise, whatever projects we have already commissioned, if we can get that share, if we can share that savings also, that will be good.
Okay.
That 30 million ton.
We will send you this number.
Okay. So lastly, the kind of capex which we are doing, like for example, this year we have spent around 11,000 crores. So is it possible to bifurcate into different buckets, like how much we have spent roughly on land acquisition or machineries or something else? And similar thing for FY22, what we are planning for?
About 3,000 crores should be. I am giving completely rough figures. I don't have exact figure right now. But rough figure, 3,000 should be in the land, 3,000 should be in machinery, about 1,000 crores should be for this FMC projects, 700 to 800 crore rupees for FMC projects. And I will send you the details. And then mine development, etc. We must have invested something like 1,500 crore rupees. So all this. So major heads are basically land and machine procurement.
Okay. So that's only we are saying that by FY24, if demand does not increase that much, we can save on that land acquisition cost. Otherwise, every other cost will continue to be.
Even if demand does not increase, but if we continue with 700 million type of production after 23-24 also, 700, 750, then also land will have to be acquired. I won't say that land will not have to be acquired, but expenditure on HEMM, expenditure on this first mile connectivity, etc. will get reduced.
Okay. And sir, lastly, I know your wage negotiations are still, that will be starting from, but from when we can start making provisions of the same, whether it be second quarter onwards or from first quarter onwards only we will make provisions, and And secondly, in case if we have to increase coal prices under FSA, that can be done only after final wage negotiations, or that can be done earlier also depending on demand supply?
That is not linked to wage negotiation. We will try to do it because wage negotiation will take quite some time. We will try to decide on this fast.
And making provisions on wages? Will we start
making provisions?
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you for this.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kamlesh Bagmar from Prabhudas Lilladher. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, sir. Sir, one question on the part of auctions. Sir, I'm not going to the, auctions for the power and non-power and all that. But even if we see spot auction, so we are getting premiums of hardly around 29 odd %, while the way the global prices are and the petcoke prices are. So, the improvement has not been that significant. And even if we see the amount of quantity which we have auctioned, it has been hardly around 4 to 5 million ton in an environment when the prices are on such a high level. So, what's the issue there? Why the customers are not participating in that, even in the special spot auction? So, we have, sold hardly around 3 to 4 million ton in last 4 to 5 months. And even if you see the special spot for coal importers, right from October 2020, we have auctioned hardly around, we have been able to allocate around 7 million ton in that. So on that front, I really want to know that what's the issue on the part when the international coal prices are at a high of 10 years, and we are not able to sell the volumes in the auction market. And again, we are trying to say that now we will allow the buyers or the participants to sell into the exports market, and on other hand we are not able to get self-sufficient on the domestic demand as well.
First thing, let's just correct the figures. Last year, maybe I have understood wrong, or last year we did auction of about 124 million tons. It's not 4 to 5 million tons. I don't know where did you get that figure from.
No, sir. I am talking about last 3 to 4 months.
Last 3 months, we have done something like 26
booking is 26 million ton.
So booking is about 26 million ton in last 2.5 months. So
I was referring only to the spot auctions and the special spot e-auctions. I do understand that in the special forward for power, there are constraints and the sector is under the problem. So I do appreciate that there the realizations would be low. But I am referring only to the spot e-auction and the special e-auction and lastly the special spot for coal importers.
I don't have right now the figure of a spot auction and e-spot auction. But then one should understand that if last year we did 122 million ton, and that in April to May, spot auction is about 3 million ton and special spot is 0.5 million ton. That is, you are right, about 4 million ton was done in April and May. And the premium that we have got on this, spot we have got 32%, special spot we have got 7%. We should not see special spot and spot separately because both of them are almost same except for the fact that in special spot we have got. Now you have to see that in the last few months, in January, February, March, how much auctions we did on this account. We did last year 124 million ton, out of which most of the thing happened in last 6 months. And those people are still to lift the coal. Then secondly, during all these 2-3 months, the demand got subdued because of COVID, etc. And in such circumstances, to expect that people will, and then the rainy seasons were ahead. We know that in rainy season the consumption of the coal gets reduced. So people didn't bid for it. We have offered lot quantity. If there is no demand in the market, perhaps we cannot do much about this. whatever the coal import is taking place, one has to do the analysis why the coal import is taking place. A part of this is maximum part, means out of 200 million ton, as one sees, and 60 million ton is because of the steel industry coking coal, which we cannot replace. 25 to 23 million ton is on account of the power plants located on the ports. So there is hardly much of the coal which needs to be replaced from. We understand that the quality of the coal is not very good in the country, and hence we cannot replace that type of the coal. So we can replace only the coal which is not which is of the same quality as the Indian coal. And in this context, the thermal power coal that was required by the country last year, almost whatever was substitutable, we could substitute. So that, we calculated that about 80 to 90 million ton coal has been substituted. This year again, had there been the normal circumstances, perhaps our output would have been much more. See, the price of the coal means the premium that we get in the coal also indicates the demand. If the demand would have been there, perhaps the premium would have been much higher.
And sir, question on this capex on the evacuation. So in the presentation, we have highlighted that around 27,000 crore odd investment would be made on the evacuation projects. So would it be entirely by us only, or there would be participation by the railways as well? So how much would be shared by the railways? Because even if we see the past, entire of the investments on the railways used to be done by the Indian Railways. So is it going to be spent entirely by us or on our account?
The evacuation that we have shown is only our infrastructure. About 10 to 12,000 crore rupees will be spent on CHPs. So these are our infrastructure, CIS infrastructure, coal. So you cannot expect railways to spend on that. Then there are about 24 and 21, 45 lines, which are 21 is siding and 24 are lines providing connectivity to our siding. So we will have to spend on that. So I don't know whether 24,000 or whatever, but in that range, 20 to 22,000 will have to be spent by us. It is not railways project. It is a project for the evacuation of the coal and specifically on the Coal India's property.
Okay. So in nutshell, this means that capex intensity is going to remain very high for Coal India in coming next 3-4 years.
At least for 2 years, it is going to remain in this range, 16,000-17,000 crores.
Okay. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kirtan Mehta from Bank of Baroda Capital. Please go ahead. Mr. Kirtan Mehta, your line is unmuted, sir. So there's a disturbance coming from the line of Mr. Kirtan Mehta. The next question is from the line of Rahul Jain from Systematics. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question, sir. Sir, also on the, my question earlier on the MMDR Act, so it is very clearly specified that, PSUs will have to pay around 200% of royalty. I would invite you to the, Schedule 6 of the Gazette. So this, I was saying that it is not applicable to me. I'm just confused over here. Can you tell me that?
I don't think MMDR Act is applicable much, except for certain things. We are not on the lease land. We are not operating our mines on lease land. And we are already paying very high royalty, which is about 14% and plus some extra, and all we are paying more than 18% of our selling price as royalty. And on that royalty, we are paying 18% GST. Plus we are paying 400 as a GST compensation tax. I don't think there is any further talk about imposing more royalty on Coal India. or coal purchase.
No, I mean, see, this is, but your other peers like SAIL and NMDC, both are now, paying the premium because it is basically compensatory measure for private, entities which have paid high premiums for the mine acquisition, right? So I'm just wondering how it is different for Coal India.
We are completely operating in completely different. If you want, we can have offline discussion on this particular.
Sure. So, and secondly, sir, under your assessment, when is it that when India's coal demand is likely to peak because none of your customers are expanding capacity. Hardly some 6 gigawatt of capacity was added last year, and there is a very small pipeline for thermal capacity addition for next 2 or 3 years. And in that environment, you're doing such high capex. So, what is your blue sky assumption, say 3-5 years down the line of where our coal demand is going to peak?
I think it will peak somewhere near 2030, not before that. See, already our plants are operating at very low PLF. Even if that PLF is about less than 60%, even if they increase by 10 to 20%, which is quite a sustainable, then the coal demand will increase tremendously. And that's likely to happen. If the country has to grow, it needs power. And whatever power we are talking about cannot come through solar energy so fast.
Right. So we also plan to enter into power generation sometime in the future?
Not in a big way or anything significantly. We are looking at solar power only, not beyond that.
No. Right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vineet Mallu from Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So just a quick follow-up question on the capex part. You said there's bulk of it on machinery, which is for replacement of existing stock, which is very old and depreciated. So sir, how long will this portion of the capex will continue? How long will it take for you to modernize your fleet of machinery?
We have ordered almost everything that was required. Means not small thing, but almost all the big machineries that were required, almost that have been ordered, like 240. Only thing that is left is 42 cubic meter shovels. Otherwise, the drag lines, 20 cubic meter shovels, dumpers, etc. has been placed. This will come in next 1.5 years or 2 years. Drag line will take a long time because they have got a lead time, quite a long lead time. Perhaps drag lines will come in next 4-5 years. But rest of the machinery will come in 2 years. So thereafter, perhaps this investment should cease.
Okay, understood. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sonal Kohli from Bowhead Investment Advisors. Please go ahead.
Thank you for this opportunity again, sir. I have two questions. Firstly, on the ESG side, have you taken any significant initiative, and is there any possibility of gasification of, the coal plants? How is the technology there? Over the next 5 years, do you see any possibility of that, or what could be the roadblocks, or any technological changes which are happening which could help us on that side within a time frame of 5 years? That's my first question.
ESG side, you can see the presentation also. Last year we did about more than 800 hectares of land. We planted more than 20 million trees. This year we have increased our target to 1,300 hectares, and we think there will be substantially more improvement. We are investing in FMC because of ESG also, because it will reduce the environmental load. We have seen that the transportation of the coal causes much more pollution than the production of the coal. We are, instead of using blast explosives for excavating coal, we are going in a big way for surface miners, and all new contracts we are providing that contractors will use surface miners. Then we are using whatever water discharge is taking place from mines. We are using almost everything of that for dump stabilization, etc. So all those things, whatever is possible, we are doing. We are getting our mines graded so that if from external agencies, so that if certain improvements can be made, we are working on that. For the first time in Coal India, we have brought out the ESG report prepared by some third-party agency. This year again, we will be preparing that. So all those possible things on ESG we are doing. In COVID situation, we have tried to help the society in the big way. And actually, there is no other corporate entity in the country which would have established hospitals amounting to total beds of about 4,000 beds. So in the area of our operations, perhaps we were the big, after the state government, we were the biggest provider of the healthcare during COVID situation, and we have upgraded our hospitals. We are creating the oxygen plants in about 27 hospitals so that they can, if something like COVID, something similar to COVID happens again in future, there will be no shortage of oxygen in those areas. So all these things we are doing. For gasification, we have put this Dankuni on tender. We have received one this offer as well. We are doing the analysis, but everything will depend on viability. Unless there is a clear-cut viability and there is a commitment from agencies to for offtake of the product that we take, it will be difficult for us to proceed in that line.
Sir, as far as your solar capex is concerned, do you expect it to become material after your capex of next 2 years, which is quite large, is over? Is that preventing you from investing heavily in solar, and would those plans change, let's say, in 24 or 25? Secondly, the technology which you are very high capex over the next 2 years. So what I wanted to know was, because of that, is it that you are investing this in solar, and would that trajectory change beyond 23, let's say in 24 or 25, like you would start spending much more on solar projects, Secondly, the kind of machinery you are employing, which is new, would it be, once this, new machinery is over, let's say, we land up into 2024, could we expect some kind of, EBITDA per ton increase because of these initiatives once all of this is complete, and what could be that quantum? We're just trying to evaluate, any advantage either on manpower reduction or productivity increase because of this new machinery.
See, manpower is decreasing very rapidly. About 15,000 manpower is roughly 13 to 14,000 manpower net reduction is there. We have decided that we will not take up projects in those areas where the manpower engagement is very high. Like in areas where we have to take land outages in larger number, we have stopped taking those mines, and now we are concentrating on the brownfield expansions. So manpower is going to reduce continuously, and perhaps in coming years the manpower will reduce at a much still rapid rate. So that is one thing. So the cost is going to reduce. The machinery investment will likely to go down. Whatever investment, you are right, whatever investment we are making in solar projects, etc., will likely to give good results. So EBITDA will definitely improve from next year onwards. There is no doubt about that. Since it depends mostly on our the offtake. If there is a normal year and offtake improves, even in this bad year, we had an EBITDA of 25%. Last year it was 28%. So it has reduced only slightly. This is so much of everything. So EBITDA is likely to increase if we go to 650 or something like that this year, there will be a tremendous increase in profitability and EBITDA. So that is not something which will get affected by whatever investment we are making or whatever machinery investment, etc., we are doing. Those impacts will be very small.
My question was actually on the contrary, the opposite of perhaps what may have come out of it. What I was trying to understand, because of the machinery you are spending, have you done any analysis of other things being constant? What would be EBITDA per ton increase because of reduction in employee cost or increase in productivity? Any sort of analysis, like if you make EBITDA per ton, let's say of X, would it be X plus 50? Would it be X plus 100?
Your voice is not clear. If you send this, somehow I'm not getting this.
The moderator
Can the moderator repeat the question, because his voice is getting slightly blurred. Hello.
Sir, let me try it again. Can you hear me?
Yeah, your voice is coming, but it's not clear. Clarity is not there.
Is it better now?
No.
I will send you an email. No worries. Thank you.
Then I'll reply you separately because those answers, there's nothing.
You can mail.
Okay, next.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vishal Chandak from DAM Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. The line got disconnected in the previous occasion. So my question was, we had in the past been talking about the vision of achieving 1 billion tons of production by FY25, then we accelerated it to FY24. And now you are talking about, 700 million ton also probably could be a more aggressive target for next year. So when are we, at all, are we planning to hit about 1 billion tons in production and dispatch, or this is something that would be kind of thing of past?
See, if coal production depends on what is the demand of the economy. We cannot keep on producing the coal and storing that. So the last year we produced about 596 million ton, and still our stock increased to 99 million ton, or it started touching almost 100 million ton, which is the ultimate capacity we can store the coal at our end. This year again we have kept a target of 740 million ton of dispatch, but as the things are happening, I think in coming months perhaps we will have to recalibrate our targets. I think that by FY22 the economy will be at the same level as it was at FY20. So these 2 years have been lost. So if we think that the country will develop in the same way as it was expected, then perhaps FY24 will become FY26. So we are keeping those targets that perhaps at a slightly lower level, but to say that someday or other things will be achieved is slightly difficult. Nobody expected COVID to happen. Nobody expected that almost the second phase will be so severe. Nobody knows that third wave will come or not. So in that circumstances, keeping the target constant is not something right to do.
No, I completely agree, sir. So my question was largely with respect to where do you see the pockets of revival in coal demand so that we can hit 1 billion ton? So it's always the demand which is the constraint, not the production capacity now. So
first thing is the demand of energy is likely to increase if it is a normal year. We are operating our thermal power stations at 60% or something like less than 60% PLF. These are likely to increase if the country has to develop. Secondly, in NRS sector again, we can replace some coal which is being imported. Last year was a difficult year, so everything where the productions were etc. low and demand was low. This year again the likely demand scenario is going to be subdued. But in coming years, definitely the NRS will improve. Despite huge pressure on us during April, we kept on supplying coal to NRS sector, and this is for the first time that we did maintain the ratio for NRS with with increased power demand also. So I think that slowly will win the confidence of NRS sector, and we will be able to meet their demand, and that way I think our coal demand should increase. The country has to develop coal. Coal is going to remain the main source of energy in coming 10 years.
Correct. Sir, my second question was with respect to your capex. We have been talking about replacing 3-decade-year-old machinery, and probably by next 3 years' time frame we will replace everything which is possible. And as you mentioned, we will spend about roughly close to about 45,000 crores odd in this entire phase over the next 3 years' time frame. Will that be good enough to take us to to 1 billion tons capacity, or again to reach that 1 billion ton production we would again have another 50,000 crores of further next round of capex for that?
See, there are two things. 45,000 crores is not for machineries and FMC only. This includes land development. This includes rehabilitation of the people. That it includes many more things. So first thing is there that requirement for perhaps connectivity, rail connectivity, requirement for this machineries will get subdued because the two, three things are happening. First thing is constructions will happen, so the requirement, to that extent, the requirements will get reduced. Second thing, we are moving to MDO mode, so on all those new projects, etc., the funds will be invested by the mine operator. Third thing, in most of the mines, slowly our own production is getting reduced and production is increasing through outsource mode. So there the machinery requirement is getting replaced. But at the same time, if we have to maintain some consistency in our production and constant increase in production, at least 20 to 25% of our total production should happen in-house. Otherwise, because of the failure of the contracts, because of other things, production will not be constant. So to that extent, we are maintaining our in-house capacity, and rest of the thing is getting outsourced. So after this investment, perhaps the investment on these three things will get reduced, but investment on land will be there, and that will be a substantial investment, not in the range of 10,000, 20,000, but 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 crore rupees of land will be required, and along with other things, if we have to increase the production, then some investment will have to be made.
Great. So my next question was with respect to your diversification from coal. You mentioned, coal to gas is one project, then fertilizers another, solar power is another. So if you could just give a brief update on where are we on all these projects.
See, coal to fertilizer is one project of TFL that was started about 2-3 years back, and the construction got hampered because of COVID. Otherwise, it should have reached to 30% level. This is now in 10 to 15. I don't remember exactly, but it must be in the range of 10 to 15%. But this government has given guaranteed of 12% IRR on this project. So, but our investment is not much because the total project is about 8,000 to 9,000 crore. Our total investment is likely to happen to 800 to 900 crore rupees only. The second project we are talking about is gasification. We are looking for partner, and we are looking for somebody who can offtake over all our products. These things have not materialized, so saying anything beyond this will be difficult. When will it come? What will happen? Unless the viability is there, unless the assured offtake is there, we are not going to invest on this. The third thing is solar power. Solar power, we are targeting for about 2,000 to 3,000 gigawatt investment in the coming years. We have got one project which we have on which we have to work, and we are likely to complete this in this year. And then coming years, we will take some projects, because that will solar power is one area where we think that it will give economic sustainability to the company for coming 2 to 3 decades. So that is one area in which we need to invest. Rest of the things, smelter or these things, that will depend on whether we can get some partner who can. We are looking for a model in which we will provide all the clearances, whatever facility the government is going to extend, that we will take on board, and thereafter we will tender it for some private person to invest, and we hope that maximum expenditure or maximum capital investment will be done by those people. Because in those sectors that there is a risk of technology and which Coal India perhaps will be difficult for Coal India to take.
Sure. So my next question was with respect to...
Mr. Chandakson, we have the participants waiting for the turn. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Amir. Hello. Please continue.
The next question is from the line of Ashwini Kumar, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I had a question. If I look at your production data for monthly production data on slide 11 of the presentation, we see that in March you are able to produce 70 million tons, sometimes 75 million tons, sometimes 80 million tons, and maybe you have gone up to 80 to 83 million tons. Now, in the previous months, either there are 28 days or 29 days, depending upon the leap year or not being there. So, if you are able to produce 80 million tons in the month of March, what basically prevents the company in terms of either man, machine, or the process, or within MDO, or with the company's own production? Why you are not able to scale up it in the months of January, February, and March? One can understand that first half, July, August, September is a period where there is monsoon, etc., or maybe the demand is low. But certainly, in the normal years, demand in Indian economy in second half is slightly higher and gets more higher in March many a times. But if you are able to do 80 million tons in March, why you are not able to produce 80 million tons in the month of Feb or in the month of January?
There is a concept of last mile. If, in the last 100 meter, one runs very fast. We put all our equipment, all our resources in production of coal. If you will see that, to that extent, OB removal gets suffers. So basically, in the last 1 month, the type of resources mobilization which we do, type of efforts which we make, is something unsustainable. And so we remove the machines from OB and start producing coal, because in January, February, March, we have to produce more, because in spring month, April, May, June, the demand is always very huge. And that type of sending that type of production becomes very difficult. So whatever is that we do in March is something difficult to explain. But then I have found that it is completely unsustainable. In April, May also, the type of production we do, if we do that throughout the year, perhaps means there will be no demand for the coal.
No, but point is, sir, in whatever conversation I am hearing for the last 1.5 hours, basically your estimate, as even Vishal pointed out, that 1 billion tons was the earlier target, and you said these are 2 COVID years, FY21 and 22, one part of it, first quarter of it. But if you really think about the industrial production moving up and again the demand for power, because 5 trillion economy cannot happen without power demand going up, and that too thermal PLF improving. So if we take the normal situation here, the demand for coal has to be strong. So I agree that you can do 80 in March, but let's say lesser in previous months. But if the demand were to rise, let's say by 10-12% in terms of power demand, thermal power demand for coal would rise on a normalized basis. So would you make any attempt to increase production of coal, because you have cash, you have man, you have machines, you have put the capex, the higher size machines. What is the plan to really improve the monthly output in months other than March? Is there any specific attempt by the company to improve the production other than the month of March? Let's say, should the demand rise, would you be in a position to supply more, or would India will have to import again more? That is my question, sir.
I am quite sure that if the demand rises, then we will be able to meet the demand very easily. First thing, in this month of February and March, I stopped talking about production to my officers, because it was quite evident that we will end up with 100 million ton stock. I was emphasizing only about the dispatch. But in April, the dispatch was improving, but again in May, the demand started pitching off. But then there was a demand. I won't say that demand was not there. So if the demand is there, producing coal is easier than evacuating coal. That's why we are in evacuation. And evacuation, if this FMC projects that materialize 23, we are targeting for 23, 24. March or April 23, we are at least most of them will get completed. Thereafter, the evacuation will not be a problem. We have started everything. We have started monitoring the contracts. Unfortunately, till this time, we used to think that our contracts should be of the same level as the demand is. Now we are saying that the contract should be at least 1.3 times the likely demand is, because there is hardly any situation in the country where the contractors perform up to 100%. There are very few contractors who give 100% performance. So we have increased our this capacity, contractual capacity also tremendously. There are 3 types of contractual capacity. One is removal of OB and coal, and second is transportation and crushing. At all these points, we have increased our capacity in all subsidiaries and almost all mines by 1.3 times. So with this, I am quite prepared production whenever the demand is.
Sure. Thank you and wish you the very best, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Rahul Modi from ICICI Securities for closing comments.
Thank you, Mr. Agarwal, and thank you, Mr. Soni. Thank you, Mr. Tiwari, for your time, and again a very detailed presentation and a very detailed call. You've given more than 1.5 hours of your precious time. We'd really like to thank you for all the efforts made.
Thank you, Rahul, for arranging this con call. I understand there were a few questions which have remained there, means people could not get the chance to. If they send the question to Mr. Vishwanathan, we will send them reply on email. And if they feel that there are certain questions, then factual question, I don't. There were 1 or 2 questions on which the data could not be given. If they send those questions, we will definitely send them to email. Thank you very much for arranging this con call. Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of ICICI Securities Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.